A lot of you have probably seen this. The Ontario NDP urges legal protections for drag shows. Drag artists say protests at performances are negatively affecting their livelihoods. Ontario's NDP urged the government Tuesday to create community safe zones that would protect drag artists and LGBTQ communities from harassment and intimidation at their performances. Drag performances have been targeted by organized protests across the United States, but also here at home, said Kristen Wong-Tam, who is putting forward a private members bill to designate 100-meter zones around show venues. Okay? Now, I've spoken on the channel before of how I straight up disagree with this whole entire movement, that I think it's dangerous for kids. I think it's specifically drag queens. I think it's ideological grooming. But I think there's some reflection that we can do on this subject. And one of the stances I've taken over the past few months is, because it happens locally, we have these drag queen story hours that happen and drag queen shows for adults, which to me, adults, do what you want. Whatever entertainment you want to do it. You're an adult. You make that decision. Same with, being transgender. If that's something you want to do it. That's always been my point of view. But as soon as you start talking about kids, as soon as you start, kids is a different subject. But when there's Drag Queen Story Hour happening at our private business here in Sarnia, Ontario, it's a private owner, private business, and they host these shows. And these parents willingly come with their kids. I want to say, do what you want there. It's private. The parents are making the decisions. To me, that's no different than a family sitting in their living room with the Netflix on watching a drag movie. I have no say of what they do in their own home and their own private business. To me, I see that as the same thing. But despite that, we still have protests at the local private business here in Sarnia, which I support. I support people's right to protest. If they're being peaceful, they have that right. So I want to make that clear. I support their right to protest. But I think it's unwise and maybe a little unstrategic to go at them for their whatever goes on in the privacy of their home or their private business. And I'm not saying I disagree with them, but I'm saying in a tactical sense, because all you're doing is driving them to act like this, where they're trying to put forward legislation to completely make it illegal, to trample on your rights completely. So my stance is, unless they start coming to the private sector, where it's like public libraries funding it, now they are starting to do that, especially in the States. I don't know if there is in Canada, if there's public venues that are hosting this stuff. That's what I'm against, because that's my tax dollars. If it's a public library, and like if I showed up to my local library with my son, because we love going to the library. My son loves reading, loves books. If we were to walk in there, the children's library, and we saw that, I wouldn't want him to see that. I wouldn't want him to see that. That's infringing on my rights, because I invest into that, through my tax dollars, into that library for my son and my kids to enjoy. So that's what I'm against. But what I want to kind of hammer home here, and this comes from a conversation I had with a local person here. He's just, to put it bluntly and as nicely as I can, he's really demented. Just some of the things he says, and especially the things he posted over the Easter holiday, just inappropriate things about Jesus, wearing a dress and telling stories to kids. It ruffled a lot of feathers in our area, because last week I talked about this local organization that represents the LGBT crowd. And this specific person accused me, she tagged my name and a few others, and she said, people like Brandon McCaskill, his rhetoric, his beliefs is what leads, and I'm paraphrasing, is what leads to the LGBTQ community being shot and gunned down. That's what she linked it to. People like me. And I came out and I said, that's irresponsible. That's dangerous. If you're telling people they're being hunted all the time, of course they're going to shoot up a Christian school because they think they're being attacked. And I said, you guys, this person has to be careful with her rhetoric. But just the other day, this person said to me, he said, are you guys being careful with your rhetoric, the things you're saying? Because you have to understand, people in the LGBTQ plus community, they're looking at you and hearing you say things like they're grooming children and they're doing all these. I've even heard people say they're pedophiles to children. Is that type of stuff not maddening enough for your side to get riled up and resort to violence? Because I have to admit, it has happened. It has happened on our side where we get too riled up and someone of their community gets violently assaulted. It does happen, unfortunately. Now, for me, at least I can speak for myself, I do not condone violence. I always say on this type of stuff, you have to talk it out. You have to have civil dialogue. But let's put this in perspective. If someone on their side let's say they got killed, they got shot down by one of our people that just went berserk. They got so mad and they just did something stupid. I would immediately say that person's stupid. They cross the line. As soon as you resort to violence, you've lost. That's my perspective. I would say that. But what I would also say is I understand that person's anger on our side. The reason why I understand is because they are ideologically grooming people, like I said. Now, we do need to be more mindful of the way we're saying things. Like if you're saying grooming, if you're using the word grooming, I think you better be very clear on what you're talking about. Because for me, I can't say grooming talking about, trying to molest children, like, gain a little kid's trust so that you can molest them. That's not what I mean. And that's how they're taking it. That's why I always say ideologically grooming. This idea that if they just get close enough with their ideologies and try to make it okay and completely normal, that they're going to start to mold these young kids' minds in order to get them believing the things that they believe as grown adults. I mean, this page here. This is the Drag Queen Story Hour website. Michelle T. She's the founder of Drag Story Hour. This is her website. And her mission statement is, Drag Story Hour celebrates reading through the glamorous art of drag. Our chapter network creates diverse, accessible, and culturally inclusive family programming where kids can express, and here's the kicker, their authentic selves. What does that mean? To be their authentic selves and become bright lights of change in their communities. Their vision, we envision a world where kids can learn from LGBTQ plus stories. So LGBTQ plus, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, everything to do with sex, everything to do with adult activities. That's why I'm very specific. That's why I say ideological grooming. I never leave it hanging. I never leave, I'm never conspicuous with what I say. In today's day and age, you do have to, especially if you're saying things online, I would just caution you. And if you're also going to say these people are pedophiles, you better be ready to back that up. I'm not ready to back that up to say every drag queen is a pedophile. Every drag queen is a groomer. I'm not prepared to do that. But what I am prepared to say, and I can make an argument for, is that they are ideologically grooming young kids. Otherwise, they would, if this was really about the kids, if they were really passionate about educating kids, they would show up as themselves, as a librarian used to, just this old woman that would read stories about Franklin the Turtle and Arthur. If that was their concern of teaching them the ABCs, then that's different. But I think we just need to be self-aware of how we express ourselves, because on the flip side of that spectrum where I said I understand the frustration on our side. I understand that. It's just like, oh, you want to do something? And that, unfortunately, leads people to say and do stupid things. The opposite side of that, on their side, on the LGBTQ side, where they're angry and it spews over to shooting up a school or doing anything violent, I can't say I understand that. I can't say I understand their frustration, because you have two frustrations going on here. We're frustrated over here justly. We have a reason to be frustrated. And they're frustrated that we're frustrated. That's not a legitimate frustration, in my opinion. So all that to say, I just urge everybody to be self-aware. A lot of us are. Just be careful with the things we're saying and think through the way we articulate our arguments, our positions. Grooming is all about normalizing sex and pornography for kids. Yeah. My caution is grooming can be taken as actually physically molesting children, like getting to that point. All I'm saying is, and I don't even say my opinion because it doesn't matter, but we need the receipts. We need to show the receipts because we could just say things without it being true. What I can show is, like I just showed you on the website of Michelle T. Drag Story Hour, their mission. That's what they say. Their mission is to give them a space where kids can be their authentic selves at the same time of us telling them about our adult ideas. That sounds like a good space for a kid to go, Mommy, I'm a boy, but I think I want to be a girl. Like, that's what they're creating, and that's what I'm against, and that's what I'm getting to. I have the receipts for that. And I'm fortunate, and this is the value I feel, and I hope people that don't like me watch my streams, because there's a lot of people that don't like me. Because I say a lot of blunt things in my local group. I'm more blunt locally, because my local politics is what I care about a lot, because my kids are being raised in this atmosphere. But I want people to understand, specifically in my Facebook group. I have a Facebook group that I started called Momentum Sarnia, and I have people from all sides on there, and they're always fighting. It seems like when you go to the site, it seems like everybody's fighting all the time. But the beauty of it is that it's not an echo chamber. There are echo chambers in my community where there's a Facebook page where only one view is tolerated and you're deleted if you say something that they disagree with. I thought that was bogus. So it's just like I took down the moderator rules and just said everything and anything goes. And I said, if anything illegal happens, like threats, contact the police. I said, but freedom of speech, it allows everybody to come out in the open. Even the people on my side that I disagree with, I want them to be exposed so that everybody can hold them to account. And I know they will, because the opposing side, the left side, the woke side, will come and hold them to account if they're smart enough and if they're willing to have a conversation. So I think that's the most valuable thing that group offers. And it gives me a perspective. You just said, thank you for your balanced view. But it's thanks to the people that participate, because I think it's so important for us to hear the other side. Even if we don't agree with it, just hear it, understand it, absorb it, and so that you can actually step back from your perspective and constantly check yourself. I think that's healthy. Lynn B says, receipts. How about the video of the man on his knees wearing nothing but a bra AG string twerking to children, or the video of the Dre where the actor simulated sex for children, grooming? Yeah. So that stuff, yeah, there you go. There's your receipts. But all I'm saying across the board, because like here locally, our drag queen, she's not provocative. Or he's not provocative, I should say. He's actually very modestly dressed. He doesn't look like a woman. He looks like one of those characters off of the Hunger Games. You remember all the uppity up people, and they wear all the funny wigs? It's very modest. There's nothing showing. So I can't say he's a groomer. Not in that sense. It doesn't apply to him. So to me, it's just a losing battle. But I agree with you, Lynn. I've seen those videos. Those are receipts, and that's where that stops. You can prove certain people, but until they're guilty of that, you can't really. I hope that makes sense. But I just want to make sure I can. Across the board is ideological grooming for each of them. Like I said, otherwise, if it was really about kids, they would have left it alone. Left it with the librarians with the geeky glasses and the corded jeans that sat there cross-legged and read Arthur and Ninja Turtles, or whatever it is kids read these days.